On today's one-on-one, we have Samson Dauda, your 2023 Arnold Classic champion, and we discuss Samson's story all the way from only years ago, competing in Korea, being stuck in a hotel room, being stuck in the country for over a month, losing his job for his dream, and really struggling financially all the way to winning the 2023 Arnold Classic this year and becoming $300,000 richer as well. Plus, we discuss if he thinks he can win the 2023 Mr Olympia. So we've got all that plus much more. We get real, raw, and deep in this interview, in this one-on-one with IFB Pro Samson Dauda. So make sure you check it out. Give your opinion in the comments. And also, if you like this content, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, and also subscribe. But anyway, guys, enjoy the video. What's up, desktoppers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another one-on-one interview, and this time it is with your 2023 Arnold Classic champion. I'm pleased to welcome back to the show a man who I had on the show before he won a pro show, and when he's in Korea, locked up in lockdown. I'm pleased to welcome Samson Dauda, your 2023 Arnold Classic champion, back to Desktop Bodybuilding. How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back. Honestly, it's been one hell of a story. It's been one hell of a journey. And I mean, we've said it like we've been speaking about it right from when it started, and once we first, got this whole journey started and where we are now. It's a real, man. It's definitely been a road, that's for sure.
Yeah. Dude, and before we started this, as I told you, like doing that Arnold Classic live stream, and I sort of don't want to say this because people are probably going to go back and look at this on my live stream, the finals. But when you won, it was because I know you, because I've seen what you've been through and how you were so close to quitting. You said, "Oh, I don't know if you said this exactly, but you said something along the lines of, if it doesn't work out this year, I'm quitting."
Yeah.
So to go from that, what, 2 years ago, a bit over 2 years ago, to Arnold Classic champion, and also the fact that the prize money went up to $300,000 US.
I know. Wow. It's a tough one. It's almost like, for every Arnold Classic liner you could ever imagine, this one was the one you just think, man, okay, how much tougher, how much more bigger can a lineup be, and how much more could be more at stake at it? And it's insane, It's definitely not the one you would have thought, man, yeah. If you ever look through history and say, "Oh, Arnold Classic lineup," especially in recent years, you wouldn't be the one that would be like, "Yeah, that's the one I'm going to win." Definitely wouldn't have been in the choices, But honestly, it's surreal. It's surreal, and it still hasn't sunk in yet. What we've just done is wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man, and it's very surreal for me. Obviously, having contact with you throughout this whole journey, from earlier pro days to now, it's just it's so cool. Now, how does it feel? Before I'm going to play a little bit of an interview that we actually did while you was in lockdown in Korea, just to see where you were then. I want to play just a minute of it, or 30 seconds. But how does it feel now to be considered as a potential Mr. Olympia winner in 2023? I mean, there's only how many Mr. Olympia winners? 16 or so now. You'd be one of 17 men if you were to win that title. And that really puts you into one of the greatest 17 bodybuilders of all time. Like, how does that feel to have the gravity of that?
It's just you can't comprehend it. Honestly, it's not something, because I've been a fan for the sport and everything else. I've watched it from the other side. So you've always had, obviously, the pedestal. Everybody that goes to the gym and wants to train one day always dream of the idea of, okay, one day, imagine if you became Mr. Olympia. But it always seems to just be that, a dream of kind of like, one day. But when you're here now, it doesn't all of your mindset doesn't change. It doesn't all of a sudden be like, yeah, of course, I've been through a lot now. Of course, I'm going to be Mr. No, you're still just sitting there going, am I living a dream, or is this someone outside looking in, or is this even possible? And you're standing here and just trying to comprehend all of it, and it's too much. There's not enough words you can totally say to sort of explain what it feels like being in that position. It's just you're just almost like smacked by it, and just standing there, just staring at it, going, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. Especially if it feel like, it's been a long journey, but at the same time, you feel like this is coming around very quickly. Which it's almost like you can't, because you always think, okay, right, if you're ever gonna sort of like dream of winning Olympia, think, okay, yeah, probably you're gonna, do a few Olympias, fight your way to the top 10, and then fight your way up the ranks all the way up till you finally somewhere at that top 5 spot. But to land the way it has now, it's almost like, oh shit, I wasn't ready for it to happen just yet. You know, you saw it like, okay, probably the next 2 years. So now just being here, honestly, it inspires you and motivates you even more because you just want to work your ass off even more because you kind of say, okay, whatever you're doing is working, just keep doing it.
And obviously it's working, dude. Like it is incredible to think back. Even okay, we obviously talked back about 2 years ago and 2.5 years ago, whenever it was exactly. But we're talking about then. But even go back to when you were battling it out with Regan and all those guys and phenomenal bodybuilders. So nothing, taking nothing away from Regan, but to where you've grown to now, it's just in 1 year. Like that is what's mind blowing to me. Like,
I mean, we can only imagine even being in my position, like what, 2021, we were fighting out just to qualify for the Olympia. And we were going, what, 4 or 5 shows back to back to back just to be able to qualify for Olympia. And even then I was saying, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do as many shows as I can, even though I can't get a win, I'll get it on points, just to make it to the Olympia stage, make it to the 2022 Olympia stage. So that was your mindset then, is just, okay, you're going to grind it out. You're going to be the underdog. Yeah, you're going to go show to show. You're going to do whatever it takes and just make it to whiz your way in there. But to end up going, okay, win a show, then it was already like, wow, we won a show. We're going to the Olympia. It was like, wow, this is as good as it gets. Yes, you finally achieved your dream. But then, like last year, so coming through it, and then we're like, okay, you're going into Olympia, and then obviously noise started and everything else, and they were like, okay, we can see you placing top 5 in Olympia. I'm like, hold on, you do realize this is my first Olympia? I just barely made it here. And people are sort of thinking, yeah, we're predicting you're dark horse for the Olympia. I'm like, yeah, we're moving a bit quick now, and I really didn't want to let it sink in like that because, sort of the hype coming to the Olympia, I was like, oh yeah, you could be a dark horse for it. And I just felt like it was a bit too soon to really accept it mentally. So I just did not, I just like, keep your goals nice and short. Just say, okay, you want to make top 10. Just keep it at that because that way you're going to be straight into the point. You're not going to be disappointed. You're going to be able to manage that. So I sort of kept my mind on that side of the whole Olympia prep. And then going into it and then end up with a result like we did, it made me stood back and just think, holy shit, like, did that just happen? Did this just really take place? And yeah, we worked our ass off for it. But I still think like I felt like I still have a lot to give. And this is the thing, like I know that no matter how hard I'm giving now, I still got a lot there in the tank. So to be top 6 at that point, I was like, man, okay, this is what we are at now. And I'm thinking from that point, I was thinking, well, I know I got more to give. So coming to the Arnold, I was like, hell, I know I'm going to work my ass off even more. So surely if I can give even more, I must be in contention to be able to win the Arnold at least,
Yeah.
But, you sort of believe that, but it actually happening, that's a different, ball game.
Different story. Yeah. Now I want to play this now, and one thing I want to touch on as well after we play this and after I get your reaction from this is every time that you talk about your journey to the stage, you say we.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to touch on in a second. So we'll get back to that. But I want to play this for you. I'll just unplug my headphones, so hopefully it's okay. But listen to this.
I've worked my ass off. I've done everything. What more could I have done?
Yeah.
What more give? I've sacrificed everything. I've put my family, my life on hold. I've done everything just to get the chance to achieve this. And once again, it's like, sorry, but not your time. Not going to happen. Trying to hold everything together at the same time, your family's back home. You're missing them. You know that they're watching and they're trying telling you, come on, man, you keep going. You just keep going. And you're like, man, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm never going to let you guys down. And then, this happens.
So I don't know if you could hear that properly.
Man, yeah. Man, wow.
But that, when you look, I scrolled down 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Wow.
And where you're at now. And it's, I watched that on my way home today. I was preparing for this interview and I was like, I've got to show Samson this to make him really realize how far you've come. And obviously, you'd think about it all the time, but it's just,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Cause I remember that, like, it doesn't feel like it was long. Like, I remember it very clearly. I remember all that moment. I remember that year saying, look, if it doesn't work out 2020, I ain't doing this anymore. I've given up too much with my family and everything else to do this anymore. And knowing that, okay, if it wasn't going to work out that year, that would be me walking away from the sport and be like, okay, well, I tried and it just didn't work out. And to sort of look back at it now, you think, damn, especially the way it felt then and how painful it felt then, knowing that you were giving everything you have and it just wasn't bearing fruit. It just wasn't happening. And you're just thinking how close you actually came to just saying, okay, look, I tried, it's done, it's not working. I'll walk away and do something else. And just saying, okay, you know what, let's just hold on a little bit longer, just a tiny bit longer. Let's just see what happens. And then having this, you standing here now, just looking at it, wow, wow, man, I don't even know what to say, because you can't make it up. You just can't even think about, like, you know, people say, oh, never give up on your dream. Don't surrender. Just keep going. You know, you never know when it will happen. Just keep going. And you see it literally play out in front of you. And you're just sitting there going, holy shit, how true that statement is. Like, how true it is to just, you know, to grind it out and just keep going. It doesn't happen when you want it to happen. It happens when you're ready. And honestly, that's exactly what it feels like. You know, it really feels like it just happened when you just about to give up, when you just at your last legs, when you just feel like, okay, this was it. And you just decide to stay a little bit longer, and then it happens. It's, man, that definitely emotional. That is emotional.
Absolutely. And like you said as well, like it's such a long journey, but it's happened so quick as well. And I think a lot of that is the fact that the lead up to having the success, that's probably 90% of the work, you know, that's 90% of what you've done is the lead up where you're not having the success. I remember talking to you, dude, and you were not killing it financially. And now you're reaping the benefits of your sacrifice and what you did, and not just you, but also your partner as well, Mel. Like she's awesome.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy because, like, I remember the time, and I remember how painful it was, because when you're there, you're working full time, your partner's working full time, you're working overtime just to feed this. At the time, it's a hobby, just to feed it, and your financial situation is basically just being drowned out by this. Like you find it, like, I mean, you say like it's an investment, but it's just being drowned out by it, and you're not really getting anything back from it, and you sort of having to ask yourself, are you being sort of ignorant? Are you being naive? Are you a dreamer? Are you wasting time and could you just be going towards something else? And you don't see the success on the horizon. All you just see is this bottomless pit just taking up everything, your time, your energy, your effort, your sacrifice, everything is just being swallowed up by it. And there's nothing coming back out. And you genuinely stand there and just want to stand there and go, you can't keep doing this. It's done. You know, you can't keep doing this. Now it's being silly. But then to have this happen in the matter of, like, literally from that year to now, it's just been a massive turnaround. I don't know what, you know, you don't really know what to say. Like, how do you even comprehend that? Like, man, it's insane. It's genuinely insane.
For sure. And I wanted to mention as well, you mentioned obviously your partner, Marlenka, Mel, you guys got married. Congratulations. That's awesome. That was out of the blue for me. I just saw that. I was like, oh, congratulations. That's so cool. So obviously you guys did it your own way, and it seems like you guys do sort of everything your own way. But man, speak a little bit about what she is to you, because she has been there from the start, and she's, I'm sure, the same now as she was back then. And she's, I can tell she's someone who keeps your head screwed on in the best way possible, but is always there for you if you really need it, you know? So talk a bit about that.
Like I've always said, like, you know, I wouldn't even gotten into this if it wasn't for her, because I didn't know bodybuilding. I didn't understand. I didn't even have in my thoughts of, one day being a bodybuilder, until I met her. And she basically sort of got me into the sport and got me looking at it, just from the pure fact of just saying, you know, we met in the gym and we're training, and she's like, you know, you got a good physique. Do you ever thought about, like, doing bodybuilding? Like, what you ever thought about? And she took a while for her to convince me to even take a chance on it. So we sort of came in the sport together at the same time, and we kind of grew with it, and we learned about it together, and kind of moved through the mass and went through all the hard times and the stakes and the journey through together, learning it. And it's just been like it's been the most crazy support you can ever ask for. You know, somebody that isn't just there sort of cheering you on, but they're in the trenches with you. They're pulling their sleeves up and getting in the mud with you and helping you grind through it, you know, because there's been a few times where I've just thought, you know what, it's been absolute just crap. And I'm just like, nah, I can't do this. And she's pulled me out of it time and time again. Even in 2020, when I was going to be like, okay, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm having enough. You know, she was the one that said, look, I know we're suffering. I know that things don't seem so great right now and they're bleak and every situation is bad it is, but just give it a little bit more time. Let's just see if we can do it. You know, we're in this together. So to sort of have that come bear fruit now and be the success that it is now, I mean, how many people can ever truly have that in a partner? Like, how many people can truly have that in their life and say that, you know, someone was there for them when they had nothing, and this is what came out of it, you know? So yeah, she's been absolutely incredible. And like I said, some people didn't know, she was the one coaching and prepping me when I first started. She coached me through my whole amateur career. She turned me pro. She coaches me for my first 3 years as a pro, you know, until John and then Milos took over. You know, even now they still work with her. It's not even a case of them taking over. They still work with her to sort of get the best out of me. And it's just been this sort of journey together that it's surreal. And, you know, we've experienced it all together. We've experienced, you know, the ups, the downs, the hardship, the grind, the gym sessions, the late gym sessions, the early gym sessions, you know, everything. We've experienced it all together. And there's no part of the experience of bodybuilding that we haven't sort of been in it, you know, just getting through it together. So now it's just, you know, first time where we kind of experiencing the really high level and up together. And we both sit there in just disbelief, just like, okay, we've talked about it and we've dreamt about it and we've sort of discussed it for so long, but here it is. And we both kind of stunned and just like, holy shit, we did it, you know? So it's definitely crazy, you know?
Yeah. And I even remember when, you know, you were telling me about some coaching situation. We won't go into it or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'll help you. And when we were talking each week, and then obviously the whole pandemic happened, all that stuff. And then I had a lot going on. So it's like, it was hit after hit after hit. And honestly, dude, when you started prepping for shows when the whole pandemic was happening, I'm like, dude, you're crazy. You're going to get heartbroken so many times. But after that career show, after that whole thing got called off and anything, I'm like, if Samson comes back now, he's going to be mentally stronger than ever, because this is the hardest. Like, you know,
this is hard. And you know, and this is exactly what it is. You know, at that moment, it felt like everything that's all been disappointing for, you know, 2018, 2019, 2020 was like the biggest hit. And it just felt like everything that could possibly go wrong for you did. Everything was like, you know, every situation at every point was just falling apart. And you were still like, okay, come on, let's keep going. You're pulling yourself in and in and in. And then the career was like the biggest one. That 2020 was like the biggest hit, where it was like, okay, hell, this is it now. It's do or die. And to sort of come through that, you almost feel like, I remember we were talking about it and saying, like, if we can get through prepping through that pandemic and that, you know, because we prepped the whole year. If we can get through that, there will never be another prep you're going to look at and go, yeah, this is hard. Because honestly, even prepping for the Olympia, prepping for the Arnold, anytime you go really hard, I always look back at 2020 going, yeah, this is actually a piece of cake. Nothing will ever beat that, you know? So it's sort of having all that challenges and all that adversity. It made me feel like, you know, at the time when you're in it, you don't really stop to think, oh, why is this happening? You always seem like it's the biggest, you know, letdown. Everything is horrible and everything is crazy. But you sit and look at it, back at it now, and I'm like, honestly, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, being able to go through that. Being able to work full time and drag my ass through it, being able to go over show to show, never had any success, being able to be broke and be like, okay, we can't even afford to have a coach, we can't afford to do this, we can't afford to get proper food. Being able to go through all that year after year, time after time, it taught us a lot of lessons that now, being here, we know how to manage ourselves properly. We know how to look and value it properly. So, you know, people that go through hard times, you know, you don't really see what that lesson you're learning from it at the time. Honestly, I did not see it for one bit. I was just miserable and I hated it. I didn't stop to think about it for one bit. I was there thinking, this is bullshit. Why is it me? Why is all this happening now? And all that crap. But I stop back and look at it now and I see the lessons that we learned from that. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad it did, because it taught me how to be ready for now.
And for people that don't know, a quick summary of that year for you is it was basically prepping for the Arnold Classic Brazil, That got called off. That was the first hit. Then you started prepping for several other shows, and it was cancellation after cancellation. And for people that haven't prepped before, prepping is hard. If you show gets cancelled, why do we prep another 4 weeks? It's like another 4 weeks is hard. And then you kept doing it, dude. You kept doing it. And then you got to Korea, got called off. The show got was it no. You went into quarantine for 2 weeks doing band workouts, and then I don't know if it's the end of that, it got called off. And then they're like, oh, we might put it on in 2 more weeks. So you stayed in Korea outside of quarantine at that stage, thankfully. But you were there for a month and you lost your job over this as well. So tell us about how you lost your job, dude.
Oh, but because we're basically when we were going out to Korea, obviously it was during the pandemic time, and UK traveling and everything was being very limited to where you can go, and only places where you can fly out to at the time was South Korea, and there was a show happening then. So because of the job I was working with at the time, I couldn't tell them, look, I'm going to fly to Korea during the pandemic, because everybody was in hysteria. The whole idea of you flying out there was like, no. So I couldn't even tell them I was going out to Korea. So I just said, look, I'm just going to take a holiday, 2 weeks off. So I flew out to Korea and obviously had the quarantine thing. And I remember the first week of quarantine, I really wanted to keep it as quiet as possible. I didn't let nobody know I was going out there. So we kept it quiet. And then it was after a week of being obviously, in the hotel, just locked up in there. The promoters of the Korea show wanted to promote the show. And they were like, we're trying to promote the show and people are not believing that you actually come into it. So is it possible, can you just make a short video just telling us that you're here in Korea, you are quarantined, you will be at the show? So I sort of like, okay, you know what, you can post it up, but I can't, because I don't give my job knowing that I'm there. So they posted the thing up. I didn't really think that it was going to be anything big deal. I thought, okay, a show in Korea, most people probably won't even know about it, mainly. It won't be a big thing. So they posted about it. And then everybody saw it, and it was like, holy shit, what the hell is this? This is the most craziest thing ever.
I probably reported on it, bro.
And they'll like show a video of me, how I was doing my cardio, how I was doing my band workouts, how I was doing, push-ups and freaking handstand push-ups to do shoulders, and how I was getting my workout and meals and everything in this hotel room. And then halfway through, it kind of blew out, and everybody was like, this is crazy. And this was during the pandemic, most people were still in lockdown. So seeing that was like, it drew a lot of attention. And then obviously I didn't have a lot of people wanted to interview me while I was in the room and stuff like that, and kind of did all loads of interviews. And then what happened was where you were getting a lot of attention for it, but it was almost like, ooh, it's good and bad, because I was thinking I really didn't want my job to know, so I wasn't posting anything about it. And I kept it off all social media and platforms and stuff like that at the time. And then what happened, someone in my job, whoever it was, decided to go Google whatever thing. And I remember they sent me a Google like screenshot of one of the interviews I did. And they were sort of, oh, can you explain this? And I was like, well, not really, And basically I lost my job literally days before I came out of that room in Korea. And at that point, you're almost thinking, okay, shit, all right, you just lost your job. You're not going, when you go home, you don't have any work to do. You got to go find a new job. That's already a hit. And then on the 14th day, just before I about to leave quarantine, on the last day, I'm thinking, okay, I'm out of quarantine now. I'm going to get out here, do the show, go home, and then sort the rest out. On that 14th day, the show promoter called me and said, unfortunately, Korea is going back into lockdown. So they had to cancel the show on the 14th day. And you think after you've just been in quarantine for 14 days, mind struggling your way through every single workout and meals and staying in a room by yourself, you then get heard, all that has been for nothing. Sorry. It was soul crushing. And then they gave me an ultimatum at the time. They said, okay, we think that the quarantine was only going to last 2 weeks. After you come out, we might be able to host a show, but we can't guarantee it. Will you be willing to stay for Korea for another 2 weeks? And I'm like, well, hell, I'm already losing everything. And everything's already talking about what else have I got to do?
Another 2 weeks of prep.
So another 2 weeks of prep. So I stayed in Korea for another 2 weeks, went through that. And then they kind of did this thing where they did a show on a D-Lo because they didn't want the Korean government to know and all this sort of thing. And I remember going to the show, they took our phones off us, they took this, and they sort of kept it really low key. And they did the show, and I came second on the show. And up to today, I still haven't seen any pictures, but like 3 pictures on the whole show. So I didn't even know what the hell happened.
Dude, wasn't it by 1 point?
Yeah.
That adds to the story so much, because it's rare in bodybuilding, but it's a 1 point decision. It means the judges were split and one more judge had him winning over you.
It was like, it was like, damn. And then, but unfortunately for me, that situation was basically the only saving grace that year, was basically because of that whole situation and how drastic and how crazy it was. you know, I was there interview Fuad, and he basically signed me to Hostile because he just saw how crazy and how determined I was, and he took me on then. So that sort of gave me a saving grace when I finally came home, that I was in a position where I was like, okay, I'm not totally in the shit, so I got a sponsor now, so maybe this might just be the saving grace. And I remember at the time, you know, thinking about the opportunity, I was like, look, you know, speaking for, I didn't go, look, if you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna take that thing with two hands and I'm gonna run with it, and you won't catch me. You won't believe what I'll do with it. And he saw, like, okay, here's your shot. And 2 years later, he still looks at me going, when you said you were going to run with it, I didn't think you were going to run that fast. You know, I'm like, yeah, I told you, man. All I needed was just that opportunity to be able to do this. And he gave me the opportunity to be able to do bodybuilding full time and really sort of dumb it down and focus on just this. And since then, you know, that's why we just kind of going from strength to strength because of that. So it was definitely a journey that, you know, you don't see coming. You just went with whatever situation landed in front of your door.
And I want to bring it up now as well, because I actually remember, I think it was, I believe I was with Hostile at the time as well. And then you asked me, because I think we were talking about sponsorship and stuff as well. And then you said, what do you think about this? And then we were discussing that. And then you later on told me, you said, oh, that's Hostile too, by the way, I'm signed on. I'm like, oh, awesome. But who would have known? Imagine if I told you, tell them to get fucked. Like,
I know.
Like
and the
everyone would end up different.
And this was crazy because there's so many situations, like so many of that period where a little conversation here and there would have changed the whole game of everything. Because even when I was coming to Korea, I remember pitching the idea to one of my best friends at the time and saying, look, okay, bro, there's a show in South Korea. You know, I've been prepping for like 8 months at this point. There's a show in South Korea. It's a small chance I might be able to get there and win the show and get, you know, get to the Olympia. But the show, I got to quarantine for 2 weeks and I got to do this and I can't tell my job and all this is on stake and all that. And anybody would have listened to that at the time and said, not worth it. Don't risk it. That's absolutely absurd. Don't do it. And that would have been it. You know, that would have been, okay, well, that's it. But I remember him telling me at that time, and it was a really close friend, and he said, bro, I have this funny feeling that this decision will change your life forever. And it was such an odd thing to say to me at the time. He goes, and he said it, going, I bet you this will be the point that will change your life forever. And he was the only person that said to me, you know, go for it. And you know, everybody was like, insane. No, not worth the risk. No, I wouldn't even risk it. Why? This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And he was the only one that said to me at the time beforehand, they go, just do it. Just do it because this will change your life forever. And if I had not listened to him at the time and took that chance, you know, one thing would have led to another, it would have been the end of it. Same thing like speaking to you at the time. If I hadn't spoken to you and took that chance, that would have been, I've never been decided on Hostile. There's so many points in time where the simple thought of a decision of where you either go left or right, it would have completely changed the outcome of where we are today. And it just seems to be that the boxes just seem to land in the right places to let it happen to where that lead up to this point we are now.
Yeah, and I think, I can't remember which motivational speaker I was listening to, but it's sort of, in a way, I think sort of summarizes it. And it's, I think it was David Goggins, and he was saying, like, he said, basically, no one or nothing wants to stand in someone or something that's relentless, that just keeps pushing forward. Like, you know, someone gets knocked down, they keep pushing forward, gets knocked down. It's almost like no matter what, like, you probably still would have got to this stage, but just because of that, you had that, like, insane drive to be able to go through the crap and push through. It was like, it's like you just, all these things were hitting you on the way through, and you're just like, no, I'm going for it. I'm going for my dream, you know, head first, you know. It's a great story, man.
Man, it's crazy because I always tell people like the same thing. You know, a lot of people come to me since then, they've spoken to me since then. I always say, look, honestly, when you're in it and those things are hitting you, it never feels great. It never feels like, I'm just going to keep going. Trust me, every single hit you get, you will literally analyze everything and think, nah, I'm not doing it. This is it. I'm done. I can't take another hit. But if you just get up and go again, and you're going to get another hit and just get up and go again, don't stop there. Don't meditate about, how bad it was and everything. Just move to the next one. Just move to the next one. And since then, I kind of learned, even doing like bodybuilding shows through 2021, when we did 4 shows back to back, and we just weren't getting the placing we wanted. Every single time I just stood there and I thought, actually, you know what? There's one thing I just know: don't stand there, meditate and pause and think about, oh, what went wrong, what you didn't do, or what you should have placed. Don't just move on to the next one immediately. Don't stop, don't hesitate, just move on to the next one. And seeing how well that works through life, where if you just get up and just move on to the next one, just keep moving, don't stop, don't think, just move. It's something to be said about, getting somewhere successful. Is that mentality really tells you out a lot of situations in your life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now, I wanted to discuss as well, now, some of the, I suppose, X's and O's of what you're doing, what's coming up, all that sort of stuff, and get a little bit into something else as well. But now, the 2023 Mr Olympia, it's the first weekend, I believe, of November, if that's correct. It's going to be in Orlando this time, obviously a different venue and all that sort of stuff. And I'm pretty sure the Olympia crew, by the sounds of it, from what I've heard Terry talk about on Olympia TV and all those guys, it sounds like they're going to be probably more onto, obviously there's probably going to be less competitors overall too, because there's 400, biggest Olympia ever. But they're going to be more onto, I think, the scheduling and all that sort of stuff, which I think benefits you going into an Olympia because your physique is so temperamental. Like it will be, it sort of can be all over the place in terms of you're bursting forward, looking perfect. And like, through prejudging, you came out really good and you definitely faded. But then at finals, you stayed strong the whole time and you did best yet, in my opinion.
Because
so scheduling wise, do you think that helps you for the 2023 Mr Olympia if it's a bit more on point in terms of timing?
Of course it is. Of course it is, because like we said, like with my physique, it can be very temperamental. It can be that point where we have to tip the fine line so much between that full look and how hard we can get. You have to be so minimal in it, because when we've done in the past where we've gone, okay, just go as hard as you can. Don't forget about anything. Just go hard, hard, hard. We've come out looking, we're like, okay, he's hard to drive, but we look stringy. And there's no pop, there's nothing to it. And it kind of looks very unimpressive. And it's like, oh, what happened to that other physique? And then at the same time, the other hand, we've come in full as house and be like, okay, you look washed out. You don't look as dry. You don't look as high. You don't look as separated. So we always trying to tip that fine line right in the middle where it's the best of both. And every single time we sort of try to push one way too far, the other way too far, it's just come out with something that we're not happy with. So even in Olympia, like if you do the prejudging, there's another thing we had where we were coming out of the hotel room before the show or the prejudging, we were like, yeah, that's a fine line. Staying backstage for a few hours, all of a sudden, now it's moved one way or the other, and we're not as hard as we should, or we're not as full as we should. And this is what always happens. And it's always that skating that bridge. So even with Arnold, prejudging, like, okay, there we go. The one thing we've always known, though, with me, the second time around, the finals, the next day, the evening show, I'm always better. My body's it's always more predictable. So I'm always better. So it's always that trying to pinpoint the prejudging enough, because the final will sort itself out. If we always get the prejudging, we know that finals, you're always going to be on point. So it's always that point. Just be good enough in the prejudging and let the final just be the finals, And, with Arnold, that's exactly what happened. We're like, okay, just get you ready as much as you can for the prejudging so you'll be in contention. By the next day, if you're in contention by the end of prejudging, by the finals, they won't touch you. And, this is what we've kind of always played to.
Do you prefer because obviously the Olympia is over 2 days. I think the Arnold was over 2 days as well. Was that right?
Yeah, it was.
And then obviously that's different. Some shows around the world are, morning or midday prejudging, nighttime finals. What do you prefer? Do you prefer 1 day or two?
You know what? Because since the last time I did a 2 day, 1 day show is 2021. It was the end of 2021. Since then, I did the Arnold was 2 days. I think Boston. Yeah, actually Boston. No, tell a lie. Boston was beginning morning and evening. But honestly, I don't know. I think I prefer. I don't know, because I've done both, and I don't think I have major preference, because they both have benefit and they both have big drawbacks. Yeah. Benefit of a 1 day show is, okay, you time it for that 1 day, prejudging in the morning, you hit it, finals, you go in, it's done. That's it. You don't have to think about it. With a 2 day show, a lot can change. A lot can change in 2 days, and you can either go one way or you can go the other. If you miss it, it's like, okay, you got 24 hours to sort it. Cool. But if you don't, there's not enough time. You got to get back in. So it's very, very, like, there's a lot of room for mistakes, and there's a lot of room to fix it as well. So they both have their strengths and they both have their drawbacks. I mean, stress-wise, 2 day show, the stress for 2 day show, it's literally up here, because, like, think about the Arnold. How do you go to sleep when you just had a prejudging like that? Like,
Yeah,
how do you
yeah.
go back? It's people don't understand this, right? When you come off a stage at the Arnold, we just did, especially where we're like, okay, we finished prejudging, we're in the middle. Okay, you go back to your room. It was about 11 p.m. How do you just say, okay, I'm just gonna go sleep now and wake up tomorrow and go back to sleep? Your mind is on fire. You can't sleep. There is no, well, I'm just gonna go to sleep. It does not happen. This is
Adrenaline
show
through the
you,
roof, right?
oh my God, everything is, and then you're sitting there, you're trying to think 1,000 things. Okay, how do we get better? How do we make sure we don't spill out? How do we, and everything is running through your head, everything. You're always thinking about the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, the worst, that you don't rest. Your mind, you can't switch off. So trying to go to sleep on those circumstances is insane. It's genuinely insane. I remember we go back to the hotel, we go back to the hotel after prejudging, and we sat there, we looked at each other, and we were like, and it was almost like this moment of stun where we're just looking at each other, just like, did that just happen? Yeah, did that just happen? And we just didn't have any words. And we were like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. And we were like, okay, where's Milos? He was still in the venue. He was still coming. And we're like, we need him to come. And then we need to speak to him, talk about plan to go to bed. Don't think about anything. So he comes in, and he comes in the room, and he's the same way, like, okay, yeah, yeah. And there's this feeling of excitement, but yeah, at the same time, you're like, you don't want to be too excited. You know, you're like, okay, it looks like we might be winning this, but at the same time, you're almost thinking, but you don't want to get your hopes up. You don't want to think, oh yeah, you are winning it. So you're literally trying to balance this. Okay, I want to be happy, but I don't want to be too happy. I don't want to be, and you're just there. And you know, we spoke about it. It's okay, right? This is what we're gonna do for the night. And then we're just like, don't open your phone, don't call nobody, don't speak to no one, just go to sleep. That's it. Just get in bed and switch off. You have to switch off. And that's basically what we managed to do. And you still wake up first thing in the morning, like, I run right to the bathroom to look, okay, what are we good? Are we good? You know, so it really is a mind game, honestly. It's crazy how much, you know, that plays around with you when you're in that situation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it definitely has to. I remember actually messaging, I don't know what year it was. I think it was not last Olympia, maybe the one prior to that.
Yeah.
But it was one of the ones where Brandon Curry got second, but he was close to Big Ramy.
Yeah.
And I was messaging him after prejudging, and we messaged, I don't know, a couple of hours afterwards or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we were messaging for hours on and off, you know? And then I said, dude, get to bed. It's like 3 a.m. But it's probably the same thing. I was thinking, like, why is he up messaging me? But he's probably just going through his head, probably talking to people, and then he's just, you know, messaging. But to me, I was like, that's crazy, but I totally get it, you know.
Yeah, because you just can't switch off. I mean, this is what you're working for. You're so close, you're there, and it's extremely hard to switch off, because at least with a day show, you go back to your room, you don't have to go to sleep. You can just lay down, have the thoughts run through your head, and then you got the final day that evening. But when you actually have a full night of sleeping, it's like, holy shit, okay, how do you go to sleep? And you know you need to sleep because your body needs it. But how do you actually switch off and go to sleep and switch your mind off at that point? It's already hard to sleep during prep anyway. And now you're literally right there. It's extremely difficult.
And I've even heard NBA players that play 82 games in a regular season plus playoffs if they make it. They finish a game and they say they struggle to sleep for hours and hours afterwards as well. A lot of time they don't go to sleep till, you know, early hours of the morning, or, you know, mid hours of the morning or whatever as well. And that's why some of them, if they say they even go out and stuff at night and they won't drink, they'll just go stand around because they get into a new city at, you know, 1 a.m, get straight off the plane and be like, okay, we'll go somewhere for a few hours because we know we're not going to sleep for the next few hours anyway. So it's obviously an adrenaline thing, and, you know, it's obviously got to be different if you win or lose or whatever, but regardless, it's probably hard to sleep.
I know, because because I remember with the Olympia, it was the same thing. Like Olympia, we remember it finished really late.
Yeah, really late.
So we came out and we was like, okay, go get some food and then go to bed. And it was everything. It was Vegas, and we're like, okay, we came out of the whole thing, and we're like, okay, we got to go out to the strip to go get some food. And you're walking up and this was like 2, 3 a.m. And you're just thinking, okay, I just want to get some food and go back to the hotel. And it was like everything. Obviously, the whole nightlife in Vegas is crazy. And you just like, okay, I just want to go. And we get to the store, we get some food in there. We run back to the room. And I remember like that night, I didn't go to sleep till like 5, 6 a.m. And you were like, at this point, it was pretty much the morning. And you were like, okay, I just need to shut my eyes for 2 hours and just get up and get going again. But it really feels like it's really that all-consuming at that time, because nothing matters at that point. Nothing else goes through your mind but okay, what do we have to do? What's the show? What's just happened? And you try to analyze and break down what you just did in the stage. You're trying to break down, okay, how you looked and everything else before you can actually move on. And it takes up the whole, you know, precipice of your whole mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine, dude, what that would be like. But we've got a few listener questions, if you don't mind answering a couple of them, my man. So this one here is from Ishan Gupta. He says, who do you think is going to be your biggest challenge at the Olympia?
Oh man, well, the top two, Derek and Hardy. I mean, you can't overlook that. Same time, you can't overlook Big Ramy, you can't overlook Nick coming back, you can't overlook a lot of guys. Andrew, you know, I think with this one is the
Brandon
case
Curry.
of, you know, Brandon Curry. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Many.
There's so many. You're in a stage of bodybuilding where there's so many people so close to each other that one slip and someone takes your spot. That's it. So you can't be in there and say, okay, I think my biggest is going to be this one guy or that one guy. Then you're just deluded. It's never going to be like that. You're going to look and go, holy shit, there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people gunning for it. And there's a lot of people that are hungry as well. So at this one, you just have to kind of go in mindset, okay, you got to focus on just you. You have to. There's nothing else. There's so many people to worry about. There's so many people to think about. So you have to kind of focus on, okay, how can you make what you last brought better?
Yeah. Now this one's from Calisthenics Pete. He says, can Samson compare the excitement, feelings, thoughts before his first ever bodybuilding show and his past Arnold? So I suppose prior to the show, not afterwards, obviously it's going to be very different winning an Arnold Classic.
I mean, first of all, you're excited and you're scared and you're nervous because it's your first time on stage. I remember it was the Prague in 2018 and it was the first show, man. It's like, holy crap. And I remember you had Nathan in that show, you had Rolly in that show, you had Lucas Ozadell. You had a few names that was in that show. And I remember seeing those guys backstage and thinking, okay, this is a fucking whole new level. And it was like, what the hell are you doing here? So feeling. And it was that, you know, it was overwhelmingly just fear and excitement at the same time. And then it was like, oh crap, what are you actually getting into? Sort of thing. But now you must feel like coming into Olympia, coming to the Arnold, you sort of used to knowing that you're standing with the best in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop the overwhelming feeling anyway, because no matter how many times you go backstage with those guys, it's still just as overwhelming. But you're just used to the fact that, okay, you are standing with the best in the world. It's not so new to you then. But everything else, it still feels the same.
Yeah. Then the next question, this is from 4D Bullshit Patrol. What does Samson think about the Arnold Classic results? Many believe he won because he's the best combo between the classic aesthetics of Andrew Jack and the mass monsters, Nick and Ramy. If so, he'd want the same lineup every time he competes, capitalize on the indecision it creates with the judges. So what do you think about, I suppose, more so maybe the reason why you won? Do you think it's because you had, I'd say, more fullness and roundness overall than Andrew Jack, but you had the beautiful shape?
And this is my strength. This is the thing, like, we know my strength. We know you got to play to your strengths. The thing is, you know, a lot of people go, oh man, you got to be completely bone, like I said, like, you got to be bone dry, shredded and everything else. But me, put it this way, I'm never going to out-condition Nick. I'm never going to out-condition Hardy. I'm not going to ever out-condition Derek. My skin tone, everything about me is not built to do that. I'm never going to do it. So if I try to play that game, I will only lose the things I have as strength. So it makes no sense to chase after that. But instead, what I have to do is highlight my strength so pronouncedly that catch up enough, recondition enough where you can stand next to them and not get blown around and look like completely soft. But at the same time, make your strengths of the big X frame, the aesthetic, the frame, that roundness, make that so pronounced that is what end up being that question where you look, oh, but he has this. He might not have that, but he has this. And that's the strength we always have to play. And I had an interview before I done long ago, and he said the same thing, going, okay, I don't get striated glutes. Yeah, I just don't get it. But I do have striated hamstrings. So when I pose, I make that the biggest draw. So someone will be like, oh, his glutes are striated. But then you look down, you see the hamstring completely torn up. And you be like, that's your strength. So you have to know your strengths, your weaknesses. And when it came to this Arnold, I knew full well that, okay, Andrew is a pure aesthetic monster. Nick is a pure mass freaky monster. I got to be somewhere in between to really draw both part of it. So They can look one side at, okay, here we have the aestheticness, here we have the monster, what's in between? And being able to stand between and capture both, it then gives the judges a decision. They either go one way or they go the other. But either way, I'm going to be the guy in the middle. So it just happened to be that that's what he came up to. And they were like, okay, the best of everything is what you're trying to still stand with.
Yeah. And it's funny when you go pose by pose, a few of those times you're second, in terms of the best pose in certain shots. Yep. But the overall, if you're second and first in most of the shots, it's like
there
you're gonna end up on top.
And that's the idea. That's the trick of it. If you cannot understand you are true bodybuilding, that's with what we have, the strength we have, that is always going to be where we fall. We're never going to blow someone away or blow one of the top guys away just surely on poses, going through poses and having that mass and everything else. But we know that it's almost like a Floyd Mayweather fight. Little jabs here and there, little digs here and there. And then when you sum it all up, you'll be like, how the hell did he just get away with that? But he gets the result. And this is exactly what we got to do.
Yeah, exactly. Now, go back to the listener questions. This one's from Jason Neese, I believe it's pronounced. It says, who does Samson have winning the 2023 Mr. Olympia?
Ooh, that's definitely a hard one. That is definitely going to be an interesting one. Honestly, I can tell you right now, I'm freaking excited for it. And I'm going to be crazy if I said I ain't going in there to win it. It'll be the most silliest thing ever. So I'm definitely putting my hat in there. That one, I'm definitely putting my hat in there. Will it happen? We have to wait to see. But for me, I'm like, shit, let's go for the win, baby.
Because you got a few people saying that they're going to win it or want to win it. So obviously, like we mentioned the lineup before, if you go through last year's plus add in the improvements from the guys that are coming up, you've obviously got Hardy Chupin, who people say Hardy's older, and Hardy isn't that old. He's still
he's not that old.
I think he's actually younger than you.
No. I think he's 35 or 36.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So we're roughly about the same age.
And then you got Derek Lunsford, who's really the young guy of the entire lineup, 29 years of age. Currently, I don't know if he'll be 30 before the Olympia or not. He's got an outrageous physique. I'm hoping to interview him soon as well. So he's obviously going to be going, well, look how much I came up from there. So you've obviously got yourself, who's making huge improvements, just won the Arnold Classic. Then you've got Nick Walker, who he's claiming that he's going to win the 2023 Mr. Olympia. Brandon Curry, who I think's been counted out because he was around last year. He just didn't bring the detail he needed. Big Ramy, who I thought, I want to ask you this actually. What did you think of Big Ramy at the 2023 Arnold Classic?
He was improved. He was better. It was better than he was at Olympia. He was definitely improved. He was bigger. He was fuller. He was freakish. He was like, wow. Because I remember seeing him backstage before he even came out. And I looked at him going, damn, okay, he's bigger than last time. I saw that, And honestly, I was really impressed by what he was able to kind of pick himself up and kind of do in that time to bring in that package that he brought to the Olympia, to the Arnold. Because this time he came back and he wanted to come back with a vengeance, and he sure did, And honestly, if he had brought, I wonder if the result would have been much different if he had brought that same package to the Olympia earlier in the year compared to the Arnold. I don't know obviously what the judges exactly what they were looking for in that Olympia lineup, but he was definitely a lot better in the Arnold than he was in the Olympia.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen, because obviously they always say you have to knock out the champion in the Olympia, which I think that's sort of almost a little bit dead, because we've seen the rightful winner win pretty much every year, but it's still that perception of it. So if he did bring that package to the Olympia, though, it would be very interesting to be like, well, he's out, because I think his deficiencies aren't that terrible. The triceps are definitely down a bit, and there's a few things that are down, but and Bob Chigarelli actually makes this point that Big Ramy isn't physique he used to be, and he's never going to be back to that. But I will say one thing: his side leg is so much better than it used to be.
Oh my God!
And his glutes.
Oh my God! His side. Honestly, that's one thing people don't understand how big especially his side poses, man. Goddamn, because this is one of the poses where we knew that you gotta with him contention when he turns to the side, it's like holy shit. Those side quads, man. I don't think anybody comes close to that. He's ridiculous.
Maybe a Keem, but I think even at this one, I think Big Ramy's side leg was just out of control.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, I want to get to at least one more listener question. This is from PK604RS. How do you feel about people like Nick Trigili saying they don't see how Nick lost the Arnold?
Well, honestly, we don't pay much attention to them. Look, let me see what happens when you win the Arnold. you're so bombarded with so many positive messages and so many positive things happening in your life. I honestly tell you now, you do not see any of the negative things that follow it because you're just overwhelmed by messages. I mean, look, the day after I won the Arnold, I was backstage with Lee Haney, Sean Ray, Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, Ronnie Coleman. All these guys, all these legends that won the Arnold in the past were all backstage, and we were going for the Legends seminar. And they were all there telling me how good I was and how great they was and how proud they was to see me win it. How in the midst of all this do I then focus on someone negative? It's impossible. I just didn't, because it only took weeks later for me to even know that anybody was saying anything. And I was like, really? I was like, oh, okay. And I just carried on because there's so many good things happening to you in your life at that time. For you to then, you have to have a really negative mindset of yourself for you to then go, actually, I want to pay attention to this. So I just didn't even freaking know until later. And by then I was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter.
And you have to realize, I suppose, bodybuilding media is what it is. And you know, everyone knows Nick Gilly channel is more of a controversial channel in terms of what he puts out there and stuff like that. And everyone recognizes, I think, for what that is now. And I think he's a lot of his content is actually getting a lot more positive than it used to be. It used to be a little bit more cutting. And I saw him on Nick Gilly's channel, Nick Walker and Guy Cistanero's podcast recently and stuff. So it seems like it's moving in a more positive direction. But obviously he did have Nick Walker winning over you, and that's his opinion.
But then it's bodybuilding. It's all about opinions. I'm sorry, but it's not a boxing match. It's about, everybody's entitled to have their own opinion. It doesn't matter. I can't get pissed because somebody said, oh, I had Andrew winning, or I had this. It makes no sense because everybody has an opinion. So unfortunately, the only opinion that matters is the ones of the judges. And that's the only opinion I can only focus on. I mean, the judges told me I got to do this from the Olympia to the Arnold. They gave me my feedback. And even though a lot of people said a lot of different things and they all gave me feedback, the only one me and Milos, we all sat there and going, okay, this one said this one said, Jay said that, this one said, Phil said, everybody had something to say. But we had to sit there and go, okay, right, who are the people that are going to be judging us again? The judges. Okay, what did they say? They said, okay, you want you to be tighter. They want your midsection to be tighter. Okay, that's our goal. Nothing else matters. And you have to simplify it like that because there's a lot of noise when you get to this level, a lot of noise. And you have to be able to drown it out and say, okay, right, the only opinions that matters are the ones of people that are going to be judging you again.
And I think one thing, you probably realize this yourself and recognize it, that when you've obviously on this massive up, there's a certain amount of people that are going to want to see you fall. So you're on this up now, and as soon as you miss it, there will be a ton of people ready to jump on. And I've seen this with Nick Walker as well, because Nick Walker, he was really like, you know, if anyone said something negative about his shape and stuff like that, they were jumped on. And it seems like once a certain amount of people might say something about his shape, then it's sort of an onslaught about it. And really, I thought Nick looked pretty damn good at the Arnold Classic. I had you winning.
He was freaking good. I mean, hell, he was good. How can he not?
I thought he's improved,
Yeah. So this is it. Like, you can knock the idea of it's only down to people's opinion. That's it. It's a boxing show. It's based off opinion. It's not based off, okay, who's this and that's fine, or he's a boxing man. It's down to opinion. So all you got to do is just like, okay, you bring your best package, and hopefully that sways to the opinion sways to your ends, and that's it. That's all you can do. You can't control anything more than that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this is a question, and I normally wouldn't ask this question. This is probably the last one we'll ask, and it's this is from South 97 North, and it says, how many meals a day and how much protein? Now, I know Milos is a higher protein guy, so how many meals and how much protein does Milos have you eating?
So right now we do 6 meals a day. We've always kind of done 6 meals a day. My protein sources, I think my protein sources, they've always been varied from, obviously the amount always stays the same, but they always vary in terms of sources. I think we're having like 5 eggs for breakfast, 200 grams of steak for second meal, 150 chicken breast, and we kind of vary over that for the next 6 meals. But they normally are by that amount, regardless, and they don't change even if I'm prepping or if I'm actually dieting or if I'm off season. The protein amount stays roughly the same.
That's not that much. That's not that much. I was actually expecting a lot more. I think he has other clients, maybe he pushes the protein up quite high. But that's interesting. Is it just because that's what's worked for you?
That's what's worked for me, and it's like with me, people need to understand, I'm extremely sensitive to everything. Like you got to understand, I'm extremely sensitive to everything. And we've one thing that I'm very blessed at is when I first started, I had a lot of people that had their head on screwed tight to make sure that they kept my sensitivity throughout my career. They didn't have me push anything to the boundary. They didn't have me push food crazily. They didn't have me put that crazy. They waited until the right time to introduce new things to me. So it kept that level of sensitivity to everything. And that's why I say, like, I'm probably one of the guys at this level, I don't have a single digestive issues whatsoever. I can eat anything and wake up and be like, yeah, I'm good. There's no, I mean, I can eat pizza when I'm dehydrated before a show and wake up next morning and go, ooh, that was good. What's next? There's nothing, I don't suffer with anything like that. And it's one of those things that we've basically made sure that right from when I started was, okay, we make sure you give your body the right way, bring you up the right way, so you don't have to then rely on any external factors to sort of keep you digesting or keep you growing or keep you doing something. So we've sort of been lucky with that. When Milos came on, he recognized that immediately and he just built off that. So, he taught us a lot on how to sort of really capitalize on that. So now we're seeing changes happening and I'm like, yeah, you have no idea how little we have to do to make those changes happen. And even then, we have to really be reserved in what we put my body through, because we know that although I'm sensitive in the opposite way, I can be also sensitive in a negative way as well. So we have to be very careful how we play the fine line and not try to push anything too fast, too quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on one more thing before we wrap up the interview, because I feel like it's important. And obviously, John Meadows was the man that took over your coaching. And from there, obviously, Milos took over your coaching. Now, John had we've mentioned John before as well when we've interviewed, but the fact that you're having this level of success now, I'm sure that a part of you feels that sort of thing from John, obviously, because John Meadows, man, he's one of these guys that gave so much back to the industry. He's such a positive influence, and it was really shocking, I suppose, when he did pass. And I think that, it's cool that you're almost carrying that legacy for him. And I'm sure that his family and stuff see that you having this success, and I'm sure they absolutely, take some sort of something from it,
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like I said, in 2020, coming in 2021, when, people finally convinced me to give it one more year and just give it a try. John was the coach that I very officially first signed up with. And, right from the minute he saw me and he sort of had me pause in front of him and everything else, he straight up said, look, honestly, you're going to be something. You're going to show the world. You're going to really shock the world when you come out. Look, come stick with me. I'll show you what you got to do. But come 2022, Arnold, Olympia, you're going to come out on that stage and you're going to shock the world. And they're going to see you for the first time and they're going to be like, whoa, where the hell did this guy come from? And John sort of gave me that sort of support. And he built up my confidence when, at that point, I felt like I've done everything I could do. I felt like there wasn't more I could give. And he sort of built up my confidence, for months and months on end, sort of bringing me up and sort of teaching me and showing me, look, you have so much tools and so much there, and you haven't really even touched the surface of it yet. And we sort of ran through the off season in 2021, and he showed me a lot in terms of how my body works and how to sort of get things going. And it was just unfortunate because we were 8 weeks out from a show from the Arnold UK when he passed, and we already had this whole plan down. He I remember the weekend before, and he was saying, like, you know what, he was sort of talking to me, and he was so excited and so just excited to sort of get me out on stage and make me show the world. And he was like, honestly, you're gonna be something. You wait, man. When they see you, you're gonna shock the world, man. And you're gonna qualify for that 2022 Olympia, and they're gonna see you, and they're gonna notice, holy crap, who's this guy? And John sort of made me believe that, and it was just so unfortunate that obviously what happened, and he wasn't around to see it. But one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that we did qualify for that 2022 Olympia, regardless of what happened, was because he said it was going to happen. And he said, when you walk out at 2022 Olympia stage, you're going to shock the world. And I wanted to make sure that happened. And you know what? He predicted it way before I saw it, way before anything else. And he predicted the exact time and exact way it was going to happen as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that did happen for his memory,
Dude, your life has been like an absolute movie in the best possible way the last couple of years, through struggle to where you are now. It's it's such a cool, inspiring story. And I'm sure there's some more stories out there as well, but yours is one of the epic ones, man. And I hope there's a movie made about it and a Netflix being made one day about it, because I think it definitely is deserving of it through all the struggles and everything. But do you have anyone you want to thank? Thank your sponsors, Hostile and all those guys as well. And
obviously Fuad, Summer, Hostile team, always first people to ever show me support, first company to ever took a chance on me when there was absolutely no reason for them to. They had nothing to gain from it. And I want to thank them most of all. You know, they really gave me a chance to be able to do this. Coach Milos, you might be a man that talks a lot. You might have heard him every single podcast, everywhere, him shouting about it. But honestly, Milos has a heart of gold. And honestly, I trust him with my life. I trust him with everything. I trust him with my family. He really is that guy that he says it as it is. And he's just a heart of gold, true and true. First and foremost, my family, my woman, Mel, she's been there through everything, time and time and time again. And oh man, it has not been easy. And she will tell you that it has not been easy. It's hard dealing with me. Now when she knows it, it's definitely hard dealing with me. But day to day, she's stuck in there. She's picked me up when I was down. She's helped me up when I needed it. And you know what? I'm truly blessed to have the people I have surrounding me, because honestly, you would not see what's happening now if it wasn't for these people around me. It just would not be. I would have been faded through history, and that'll be it. But because of the people I have around me is the reason why I shine right now.
Man, I absolutely love that. That was so well said. I couldn't have said it better. That is so cool. But I want to encourage everyone, check out Samson on Instagram. Check out his YouTube channel. I've seen that up. The links will be in the description below. Wherever you can find Samson, you'll find it in the description below as well. So Samson, I want to thank you so much for doing this one-on-one interview with Desktop Bodybuilding once again. I think this is about our 5th interview so far. So I think I've interviewed you more than anyone on the channel, just because I knew as well, you know, I knew it was coming.
For sure, man. Thank you so much, man.
Giles has interviewed you tons, yeah.
Oh, yeah, as well. Yeah, man. I mean, you and Giles were literally one of the first interviews I ever had. So, man, we've had a history, and you guys have been part of this whole journey and part of this history, and you've seen it, you've covered it step by step, stage by stage, and now Arnold Classic Victory is just another stage, and hell, we will know where the next few is going to be, but yeah, I hope this journey carries on, and this story still carries on going, and we don't know where the next stage will be, but let's carry on going up with it. So, thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Maybe the next time I interview you, hopefully it'll be leading up to the Mr. Olympia in 2023. But the time after, I might be interviewing you as a Mr. Olympia champion potentially. But no pressure.
Oh, yeah. No, thanks so much, man. I really, really appreciate all the support you've given me.
No worries at all. So that's it for myself, Xavier Wills, and IFB Pro, and now 2023 Arnold Classic champion, Samson Dauda. For us and Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out. I hope you guys enjoyed this one-on-one with IFB Pro and your 2023 Arnold Classic champion, Samson Dauda. If you did enjoy it, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, including more one-on-ones. We have one upcoming with William Bonac, the Conqueror, and a whole bunch more as well. Also, daily bodybuilding news live is up, and it's going up daily on Desktop Bodybuilding. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those, and you can get involved in the comments live with me as well. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning into this one. For Desktop Bodybuilding, myself, Xavier Wills, and Samson Dauda, we are out.